Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the East Staffordshire series, 38 civil parishes covering an area to the north and west of Burton-upon-Trent. It's a lovely part of the world, so let's go and see some of it. Welcome back to East Staffordshire, everybody. Now today I've got one that's primarily a linear village, but there is a sort of a circular bit at the top, so it's a bit of a mix. And I'm starting at the far southern part of the village here, as far south as I dare. Basically from here, there are a couple more houses down here, but I'm not going to go much further than where I am right now, because it just runs off into the countryside and all the interesting stuff is up there. However, I am beginning at a landmark which I imagine not a lot of people know. This is called the Poetry Tree, and here it is, the Poetry Tree. And right at the moment we've got an Emily Bronte poem on here. Fall leaves fall. Fall leaves fall, die flowers away, lengthen night and shorten day. Every leaf speaks bliss to me, fluttering from the autumn tree. I shall smile when wreaths of snow blossom where the rose should grow. I shall sing when night's decay ushers in a drearier day. And you'll find the Poetry Tree in the village and the parish of Newborough. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Newborough is a beautiful small rural village and parish situated in East Staffordshire, 3 miles southwest of Hanbury and 8 miles west of Burton-upon-Trent. The parish, with a population of some 500 residents and approximately 190 dwellings, stands in a narrow dale through which the River Swarbourn, a small rivulet, flows southward to the River Trent. On its eastern side is the National Forest. This is easily one of the loveliest little villages I've ever visited, and I mean that wholeheartedly. It's well worth a visit if you've never been before. It features a church, which is literally its biggest landmark because it has a really tall spire reaching high up into the Staffordshire skies. There's also a lovely little tea room, a pub and a school, and a very welcoming feel about the place. To the north is Hollybush Hall, a country house and one of the village's listed buildings. Newborough is famed locally for well dressing. We haven't seen any of that for a while. It's usually a Derbyshire custom, but who says Staffordshire villages can't do it? Perhaps the most notable man to have lived here is Charles Marlowe, an English jockey best remembered for his association with the horse the Flying Dutchman, on which he won both the Derby and the St Leger. This is Newborough, folks. Let's get walking once again. We begin on Yoxall Road outside an old pub named the Buffalo. The houses adjacent to this stand on the pub's former car park. Running alongside the road is a river which makes several appearances in this episode. That's the River Swarbourn, which flows south into the Trent. There's a couple of interesting houses on Yoxall Road, like the Poplars and the Piano Barn. These are holiday cottages, the latter of which stands on the site of a former piano workshop at Poplars Farm. The rest of Yoxall Road is typical of rural Staffordshire, and isn't it pretty? Towards the end of the road there's the village school. That would be the Needwood C of E Voluntary Aided Primary School. And outside the school we have the village's phone box, and this one still possesses a working telephone. How rare is that these days? Okay, next to the phone box we've got a bus shelter, and in said bus shelter there's a parish notice board, and it's a pinboard one, which means that I don't have to use any blue tack today. It's a good thing. There we go. I'm on the board, people. Newborough is done. There's also a defib machine in here as well, and this stands opposite the Red Lion pub, which we'll talk about in a moment. There's a tea rooms over there as well, vintage tea rooms and B&B. We'll check all this out in the next section. Here's the Red Lion pub. This is Newborough's only remaining pub nowadays. There used to be three: this, the Buffalo, and the White Hart, which Newborough's church now stands on the site of. I was particularly taken by this tree for some reason outside the Red Lion. I really don't know why. Next we come to the old Baker's Cottage Vintage Tea Room, located on Newborough's main through route, the B5234. The clue for this one is in the name. It was an old bakehouse, and it now houses a coffee shop, which occupies the lounge of the former living quarters. It's also a B&B as well. Let's head to the east next, along the B5234 towards Burton-upon-Trent, which means crossing the River Swarbourn. Once over the river, we come to a small garden. There's an old village pump in here, which at certain times of the year is involved in the local well dressing ceremony. So once I came into this garden, the first thing that I saw was this tree stump, bit of wood. Thought it looked a bit unusual, certainly not naturally in this shape, is it? It's been carved, and there are a few things I can sort of make out. There's a snail there, that looks like a tree, or well, sort of a tree, like a cartoon tree. There's what appears to be an anchor down here, not sure if it is. Not quite sure what that is. It's an interesting piece of artwork anyway, isn't it? I wonder who did that. It's really good. Anyway, now we're going up Chapel Lane, which is that road right there, past that very nice house on the corner, and that's our next section. This is Chapel Lane, although you'd be hard pushed to see a chapel. According to Januki, Newborough had a small New Connection Methodist chapel built in 1851. You can at least see one religious building from here. Given that Newborough's church spire is 112 feet high, I'm not surprised. Running alongside the road is the River Swarbourn, which flows south. Hang on, haven't I said that before in this video? A right turn at the end of the road brings you into the National Forest. Here's a post which tells you that this was a tender scheme winner at one time. And this is where you also come across the Riverbank Park play area, a decent sized children's playground right on the Swarbourne's banks. It might just be me, but I see no fence here between the play equipment and the river. I can only assume the local children don't mind getting their feet wet. It's definitely all about the river, this place, isn't it? It's everywhere you look, it just seems to be on every street corner, and it's just fabulous though. I love a river. I love a river flowing through a village like this. It's more of a beck though, isn't it, this one, because it's clearly, you know, it's not the widest river we've ever seen, but even so, it still makes it look pretty, and that's the good thing. Okay, so now we've turned the corner and we're heading back towards the centre of the village and towards that massive spire. The church is next. Like the one in the garden earlier, this well on Hollybush Road is also involved in the local well dressing festival. There are 4 wells in the village in total. It stands outside this house, which is in fact the old school. Couldn't find anything about this, but of course now this is residential. That brings us back to the crossroads where we were earlier. Here's a bus stop. Newborough can be accessed from Uttoxeter via the 402A and the 403 bus services. And now we come to Newborough's church, dedicated to All Saints. One of the tallest churches around, this was designed by John Aldred Scott. It's built in Gothic style and was consecrated in 1901. It was built using stone from Hollington, Pateley Bridge and Harrogate, and it's a Grade 2 listed building. Its most striking feature is of course its tower, which is surmounted by that awesome spire. It has 5 bells, 4 of which came from a previous church. It's not until you stand close to the tower that you get the full magnitude of how tall this is. It is massive. It really is a very, very big spire, very big tower and spire. It's a long way up there. Fabulous. I wonder if it's taller than the 2 other churches we've seen in recent times. Those at South Dalton in the East Riding and Hemmingborough in Selby. I wonder. It's going to be up there, isn't it? Literally up there with the tallest ones we've seen so far. Okay, that's pretty much it for the main walk, because once out of the churchyard down this path, we're back at the school. Hang on a second, just noticed something here. No unauthorised admission to tower. Oh, it's to do with the bell ringers. So I imagine that's how you get up the tower. One would have thought, through this little door. Just happened to notice that on the way past. Anyway, as I was saying, once out of the churchyard, we turn right back past the school and back down Yoxall Road, and that is pretty much it for the main walk around Newborough. Are we done with this one though? Every time I ask that question, I already know the answer, and you do as well. No, we're not done with this one just yet. I'm going to head up towards the north of the village. There's a few other bits and bobs I want to catch up there, and then that'll be it for not just Newborough, but this run here in East Staffordshire. And of course there will be more episodes in East Staffordshire, but that's going to be a lot for now. So let's make the most of it. Let's head up there and see what else this place has got. To finish, we head up Hollybush Road, which takes its name from the country house Hollybush Hall. On the way, we pass the village's cricket club. The last thing to see here is Hollybush Hall itself, which is sometimes just known as Hollybush. It is of course a private residence, and these are its gates. I wasn't totally sure I was in the right place at first here, but this awesome doorbell told me I definitely was. I've never seen one quite like this before. Hollybush is a neat mansion upon a fine eminence, and was the seat of Thomas Kirkpatrick Hall Esquire, the principal owner of Newborough in the 1850s. It was originally built in the late 18th or early 19th century, and it was used as a hunting lodge before becoming a country residence. Hollybush overlooks some amazing scenery on the other side of those gates, including an artificially dammed lake. To be honest though, it's not that bad out here either. I fully expected that I wouldn't be able to get anywhere close to Hollybush Hall because obviously it's a private house, private parkland, all that kind of stuff. But I think just standing at the gates is pretty much enough, to be honest with you, because even though the house may not be in shot, at least you know where it is, and I've made a reference to it in the video. And if nothing else, up here you've got all this amazing scenery, haven't you? And that just shows what Staffordshire is like, really. And you know what? There's plenty more of this still to come. I've really enjoyed my time here in East Staffordshire, and I can't wait to come back and cover a bit more of it, and of course the rest of Staffordshire as well. One of my favourite areas in the country is Staffordshire Moorlands, which is a bit further to the west, and that is quite beautiful, quite beautiful. So yeah, loads more to cover in this great county. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot. This has been the parish of Newborough, and I'm out.